Morning, everyone. Welcome from the Shir. We are on Daf Ayin Gimel Amud Beis. Uh, we are on the third wide line, on the end of the line. That's where we're holding. Third wide line. And we'll head yesterday because it's a long page, and yesterday's was a little bit small, so capitalize on it. Okay, so story today is from Moshe Greenstein. That was the following story. There was a woman who lived in Yerushalayim. It's an older woman, and she needed some sort of she had someone who usually did some sort of, I believe it was a plumber, used to do work for her. It may have been an electrician, I don't remember, but I think it was a plumber. Uh, and so she had a couple numbers, and she tried calling them to see who was available. But she wanted a particular plumber. She just couldn't remember who was the usual guy who came. It's been a while since the last guy came last time. So she started going through the list. Each one said no, and she called this number, and it was actually the number of Rav Mordechai Eliyahu. Eliyahu was the Sephardic Chief Rabbi of Israel, great tzaddik, Talmud Chacham. So she said, "Oh, I'm sorry, ma'am, I'm not a plumber. You must have the wrong number." All right, have a nice day. Okay. A few minutes later, she calls again. She was going through her list. No one was available. It's not the right person. Has this ever happened to you? It's happened to you before. I called someone like this. He actually ended up helping me because he saw us calling so many times. So when you get desperate for home repair, the pressurized. So anyway, so you called him again. He says, "No, I'm sorry. I'm not a plumber. I can't help you. You must have the wrong number." A few minutes later, he said, "But again, a third time." He said, "I'm not a plumber, but how can I help you? It seems like you're looking for a plumber." So she didn't know it was her Mordechai Eliyahu, but it happened to be Mordechai Eliyahu. Explained to him, I was looking for a plumber. I use a particular person. I don't remember the name. So Mordechai says, "Hold on a second." He walks over to the cabinet. He pulls out the yellow pages or whatever, the phone book. He says, "Let me start reading off names. Let's see if it rings a bell." He goes to the first one, the second one, the third one. Finally, she says, "Oh, that's the name." He gives her the number. He says, "Okay, so let me know if it works out." Okay. She says, "Thanks him so much." "Oh, thank you so much. I can't believe you spent so much time helping me. I really appreciate it. By the way, what's your name?" He says, "Mordechai Eliyahu." Says, "Oh, Rabbi Mordechai Eliyahu." Says, "Oh my gosh, I feel so bad. I wasted your time." He says, "You didn't waste my time. Um, I'm happy to have you to help you out in any way I can." I simply join yes, I think. Yes. So yeah. So, but she felt very sorry. She felt very bad that she was interrupting him. Good morning, Rabbi Simkin.
Good afternoon from Sri Lanka.
Sri Lanka. Okay, I've never been.
Sri Lanka. Hello from Sri Lanka.
One second. Now I can hear you. You can say hi again.
Good morning, Rabbi Simkin. Good morning from Sri Lanka to Israel.
Okay, I don't know if you hear you. Well, I don't know if you heard, but Alan said hi. So we're very happy to hear from you in Sri Lanka. I don't know if I could find Sri Lanka on a map. So
All the way from the former.
hear him, so I couldn't hear him. It broke up. Okay. Anyway, so the story is that so we sorry we couldn't hear you, Rabbi. But maybe you'll let us know later where Sri Lanka is. Um, anyway, uh, it's off India, an island off India. Oh, thank you, island off India.
Come on.
So anyway, so the point of the story is, it's amazing how even great people, Jets, we do hear the Jets, yeah. Amazing how you never, that great people were willing to take their time to help other people. It's a well-known story of Moshe Feinstein, how after he passed away, this older woman called the yeshiva, asking what time is candlelighting, Erev Shabbos. He says, "It's 17. Why are you asking?" He says, "Well, I call every week, and Rabbi Feinstein always tells me what time is candlelighting." You know, they have calendars for these things, yeah. But Moshe Feinstein never said that. He just patiently answered it. We should do that too. We should emulate. They're certainly more busy than us. Moshe Feinstein and Mordechai Eliyahu are certainly more busy than we are. They made better use of our time than we did, I'm sure, but they still had time for everyone. Important lesson. Okay, now we are on to the Gemara. Daf Ayin Gimel Amud Beis. We are on the third wide line in the Gemara. Say drink first. Okay, so the Gemara says as follows. Okay, so the Gemara says, Amar Rava, Machlokes b'to shtei nashim. The Gemara says that Rava says another answer to explain what we said before. So remember before, we had this, we had issue. We're trying to explain what we said. I don't know if it'll let me turn off the volume. It normally does. Hold on a second. Let me see if I can get from here. No, not letting me. There we are. Now let me. No, almost. There we go. Now it did. Okay. There we go. Let me just share again. Well, some technical issue. No, that didn't work. One more time. That's very strange. Okay, let's try that again. One more time. Zoom is doing some strange things today. Oh, there we go. Okay. Oh, no, I have to re-highlight. Okay, so the Gemara had said that there was a machlokas between Rav and Shmuel, and we had ways of explaining it, and now we have a new way of explaining it. That was Abayi's way, now we have a Rav's way of explaining it. We had said before on Daf Amud Beis on the bottom that if a woman kitchal tonight, a man marries a woman on the condition, it can be more than one type of condition. Let's assume, like Rashi simply says, that she doesn't have any nidarim. And then that's the Eris that she does. Then there's the Nesuin, the second part of marriage, Stam. He comes to Stam, he just marries her without making any reference to that. Rav said she needs a get, and Shmuel said she doesn't need a get. We spent some time explaining that. Abayi's approach. Now we're going to have Rabba's approach. So Amar Rabba, the machlokas between Rav and Shmuel is in the following case. The Tos, Amar Rabba, Amar Rabba, machlokas b'to shtei nashim. When he married two women. About the Tos isha achas is different. Everyone agrees. Let me just explain Tos shtei nashim first. Is when he marries two women. First he has erison with one woman on the condition, very clear. On the condition there are no nidarim, for example. And then he marries another woman. Does erison, kedushin with another woman without any stipulation. No stipulation. So the question is, the second one was without any stipulation that she doesn't have any nidarim, any oaths. The question is now he finds out the second one has nidarim, has oaths on her. The question is, does he need to give her a get or not if he wants to let her go? Questions like this. Do we say that since he made that condition for the first one, he also must have meant it for the second one? So Rav says, no, he didn't say that for the second one. He didn't make any stipulation. So therefore, it's a fully good kedushin, even if she has nidarim, has oaths. So he would need a get, to give a get for her to go out. And according to Shmuel, no, since he stipulated by the first woman that he doesn't want her to have any, that's only a good kedushin if she doesn't have any nidarim, even though he didn't say it by the second wife, he meant it by the second wife, and therefore she can go out even without a get. That's the machlok between Rav and Shmuel, says Rabbah. However, Rabbah continues, but if it's a one woman, in other words, a one woman who he said marries her on the condition, there's no nidarim, there's kedushin, the first stage erison, and then does nesuin without any condition, stam, divrei hakol ein tzricha imena get. Everyone would agree that he doesn't need to give her a get. Why? Because everyone agrees. It was when he married her, it was on the final stage in the suin. It was on based on the original kedushin. The original kedushin was a stipulation that there are no nedarim. Finds of the nedarim. The whole thing is null and void to begin with. Everyone would agree by that. It's only by two women.
And Shmuel agrees with that.
Yeah, Rab and Shmuel, Rab would agree. Yeah, everyone agrees to that second part. At least according to Rabbah. According to Rabbah, yeah. So, okay. Amar Abaye. Abaye says back to Rabbah. Amar le Abaye. Almas nisin the Tosisha Achasi. We have our Mishnah, our very own Mishnah, which is talking about one woman who has a neder on her. And you find out she has a neder on her. The stipulation was the Tanai was that there's no neder. Bikomosidnan tiyufta. And we asked a contradiction on it before. It's a little bit of a complex question, slightly. We had a question based on the Mishnah at the very end of Ayin Gimel Amud Aleph. And the Mishnah, the question was, it says, the question is, it says as follows. The Mishnah said the second case in the Mishnah was that Kansa Stam, that he just does the Nesuin without anything. So we said, what is that talking about? It's based on the previous case in the Mishnah, that he did the Kedushin, the Erusin, the first stage of marriage, with the assumption, on the Tanai rather, with the stipulation that she doesn't have any Nidarim, and then he marries her without, there's a second stage of marriage, the Chuppah, the Nesuin, without stating that condition again. So we said that she doesn't get a ksuba, implying she does need a get. We said it's a contradiction to Shmuel, but Rav clearly holds in that case. That she does need a get. And here, in this very same case, we said no. Everyone agrees when there's only one marriage, one woman. Rabbah said everyone would agree. Abaye says, but didn't we ask a question before and say that no, Rav, it's a machlokas, Rav and Shmuel, whether she needs a get or not. So the Gemara says no. So Rabbah changes it a little bit to say a different case that they're arguing out to smooth things over, if you will, to make it make more sense with our Mishnah. You're going to say it like this. Amar Rabbah, machlokis betos isha achas, ke'en shtei nashim. When are Rav and Shmuel arguing? It's a case of one woman who's like two. What's the case that Rav and Shmuel are arguing about? Says Rabbah. The case is where he married a woman once and then married her again. So it's like ein shtei nashim. The first time he married her, he married her with the stipulation that she doesn't have any nedarim, and they get the erusin, and then they get divorced. And then he changes his mind. They get back together, thank God. And this time he does a stam. That's not such a. It just says stam. They want to get married. It doesn't make any additions about nedarim or not. And then he finds out he does have nedarim. He does have oaths. So the question is if he would need to give her a get to go out or not. The question is like this: do we say that the second time they got married, the same wife and the same husband, second time they get married, even though he didn't stipulate that it's conditional, that the marriage is conditional on the fact she doesn't have any oaths, any nedarim, the second time, but he said it the first time, so we assume it means the second time as well. So Rav says no. He said stam, didn't stipulate, make any tanai the second time, so it means he just married her stam without any conditions. Therefore, if she was to go out, she would be get. But according to Shmuel, no. Since he made the stipulation very clear the first time, the tanai the first time, therefore the second time, even though he didn't make the tanai, it's as if he was makbid on it. He was stringent about that, and he wants that to be the case. So therefore, the kedushin isn't called, doesn't take place because it's as if he made a stipulation that it's only conditional on the fact that she doesn't have any oaths. She does have oaths. According to Shmuel, she doesn't need a get because null and void. According to Shmuel, that's the case they're arguing about. When it's one woman, he marries twice. Aval the tos isha achas gredasa divrei kol ein tzricha men again. But if it's stam, a case where just one woman that he's marrying her and he made a stipulation, made a tanai, no oaths, that she doesn't have any. The kedushin is conditional on the fact she doesn't have any nedarim, any oaths, And then he finds out, then he marries her, marries her, does the second stage, the Nisuin, without any stipulation. And he finds out that she did have os. We say that when he did the second stage of Nisuin, it was on the das of the first Kedushin, the original Kedushin, which was that there was conditional, and that therefore she could go out without a get, even according to Rab. Rab and Shmuel would agree with that, according to Rabbah. The Rabbah's learning that. Okay, so that's where we're holding. Now it's a little bit complicated, but now Abaye is going to not take this sitting down. Abaye is going to ask a whole series of questions on this. He's going to bring all sorts of Toseftas and Brisas to try to disprove this concept. That, the concept which Abaye holds is that everyone holds. So Rabbah holds. Abaye disagrees with Rabbah. Abaye is going to ask on Rabbah that Rabbah holds that, a case where he does the Kedusha in the first stage of marriage, the Erusin, on the condition, but on the Tanai, she doesn't. This is a conditional marriage, that he don't have any Darim. And then when he does the second stage of marriage, Nesuin, Chuppah, and they have Bia, they cohabit, it doesn't make any conditions. Rabbah said, everyone agrees, no, that Bia, that Nesuin was based on the previous, not to create a new Kedusha, a new situation. It's based on the prior state, which was based on a stipulation, the condition, that there's no oath. So if you find there's an oath, another oath, therefore the whole thing is null and void. That's what.
So if they agree that she doesn't need a get, she must have got a get from the first divorce.
Right, correct, Alan. According to the case where she got married twice, the first one she had a divorce. That's what it's talking about. They're married. Yeah.
So where does it all agree she doesn't require a get? Where does that come into?
That's in a case where he only married her once. One woman married her once. He married her once, but the first part of the marriage, the Erusin, was conditional on Tanai. This only takes effect if you don't have any oaths. And then he does the second stage of marriage, the Nisuin, cohabits with her, and he doesn't say anything, he doesn't make any stipulation. So we assume he didn't have in mind when he did that Bia, when he did the second part of the marriage, that was create a new thing. It's just on the stipulation of the original part of the marriage. Therefore, it's conditional. So even though he didn't mention anything about the condition here at the second stage of marriage, we assume it's based on that condition, the first part of marriage. Therefore, if he finds out that he has Nadarim, she has oaths, the whole thing is null and void, based on the original Tanai, original stipulation. It all goes away. So it doesn't need to get to because the whole thing is null and void, based on the stipulation. If you have Nadarim, then it's not Kedusha in the first place. That's how it works. Okay. Right here. Okay. Fine. So now, as I said, based on that, Abaye is going to ask a number of questions. He's not going to take it sitting down, so to speak. So, Esvei Abaye. It's about a third way down the wide lines. I'll highlight it here. Esvei Abaye. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 3, 6, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Eighth wide line. Third word in Esvei. Abaye is going to ask a question. Marker. No, sorry. It's my trusty marker. Esvei Abaye. Abaye is going to ask a question from Tosefta. Listed in Gittin also. He's asking a question from a Tosefta, to be exact. Esvei Abaye. Kidsha b'taos. A person marries a woman, b'taos, accidentally. We'll see what that means exactly. Presumably, it means that he intended for her to not have oaths. She did have oaths, but we'll leave that for a second. Upachos mishava pruta, or if a man marries a woman by giving her, gives the kedushin with less than a shava pruta, less than the equivalence of a pruta, which is a very small amount. Eretz has the number. It's an 80 agarot or whatever it is. It's a very small amount today. Changes based on the price of copper, but whatever. Price of silver, I should say. Copper equivalent to silver. So he marries her, but that's not enough. You have to give a minimum amount of money to do the kedushin with kasa, with money. So to a boy less than 13 years old who marries a woman, all of those are not valid Kedushans. Kedushin B'tos is some sort of married with a stipulation that they're oaths, for example, and she has oaths, and she has no oaths, and she does have oaths, or he married her by giving her less than a pruta, or was a katan, a minor. All these cases, it's not a Kedushin. So then what happens? Apapisha Shalach Savlonos, even though he sent these gifts that was traditional for the chassan to send to his to his the woman who he had erison with, the bride, the first stage of marriage. Rashi says McDonosh chassan sholeach l'rosasa. It's really they send things, other types of things they gave, various things they sent, whatever. And that is worth a proof. That is another act of kedushin, technically speaking. He's sending her something that, with this to marry with her, even though he sent it to her afterwards. Like he originally only gave her a pruta. He originally only gave her with a katan when he did the first act of kedushin. Now he is a gadol. He's reached the age of majority. Still ein mekudeshes. Shemachmas kedushin rishonon shalach, because it was sending this only based on or due to the prior kedushin, the prior initial act of kedushin, the first stage of marriage, which wasn't valid in the first place. So even though you're sending things which technically in and of themselves could enact a kesef kedushin, but it was only given on the basis of the initial kedushin, which wasn't valid in the first place, because it's a minor. The problem with the kedushin, he gave less than the minimum amount of money to enact the kedushin. However, the imbalu, continues the Gemara, if afterwards, after he became an adult of 13, or any of the other ones, after he gave less than a fruta, etc., Shimon ben, imbalu kanu. Tanakama says if he did that, then he is in fact mekudeshes to her. It's a good kedushin. Presumably, because he did that via that cohabitation, not based on the previous marriage, the previous kedushin, I should say, the initial kedushin. It was a new act that he did in order to create a kedushin that would work. So therefore, it's a good kedushin. Rabbi Shimon ben Yehuda, Mishum Rabbi Yishmael. Rabbi Shimon ben Yehuda says the name of Rabbi Yishmael. Rabbi Shimon ben Yehuda, Mishum Rabbi Shmuel Omer says the name of Rabbi Yishmael. Imbalu lo kana. If he has the cohabitation, he still doesn't have a good kedushin, because when he did that that cohabitation, it was only based on the initial kedushin, which wasn't good. It was less than a sheva pruta or something, or it was a minor at the time, something like that. So therefore, it doesn't work. According to the Tanakama, it does work because the new act cohabitation is like he wants it to be a good bia. He said before, he wants it to be a good kedushin. He said, and right, we're up to the betrothal stage.
So we talk about habitation in a rosin, the fond of cement.
Well, in the level,
this is what it is talking about.
Right.
As opposed to under the chuppah, the marriage would not be allowed because of the minor.
Right. So you're asking a question. Alan's asking, what's the bia coming up here? We're talking about not up to work in Erison. So that it's a good question. It's been asked. I think you asked the same question. This comes up many times in the Masechta, that particular angle. So it's talking about the time on the Torah level, when one of the ways to do kedushin, the first stage was kesef, money, shtar, or bia. Right.
Here is not considered marriage.
You can't marry. You didn't do kedushin with that. Correct. So it's a good question. It seems that we're talking on the Torah level. Right. It's a good question. The question comes up several times. Yeah. On the Torah level. We're not we haven't got to practical yet. We are in the practical part of that. So anyway, so what do we see from this? So the Gemara is the tos isha achasi. We're talking about one marriage, not two women. Obviously, we're talking about one woman. He upligi, and there's an argument, and then the Tanakama argues and says that with that one bia, he had in mind to enact a new kedushin, a good kedushin to work. It's not based on the initial four kedushin. And what's the case? My lab the tos nidarim. It is the case of tos kedushin b'taos. What does that mean? The Gemara is assuming now it means not a person married her on the condition she has no nidar, has no os. So what does that mean? What's the case? One of the cases there. So he marries her on the condition she has no os. She does. And then he goes ahead and has a bia. Could technically be thrown a suin, but it doesn't seem like that. Let's leave that out. He has the bia, and he has in mind that according to the Tanna Kama, to enact a new good working kedushin. What do we see? We see that even though initially he did kedushin, and then he has a bia, kedushin, nesuin, whatever, it's not on the condition, but it's not based on the prior kedushin, which was not good. It's to enact a new kedushin. Not everyone agrees on this concept that if in such a case, we said before, Rabbi want to say everyone agrees in that case she doesn't need to get, but here in this case she would clearly need to get because he's doing a new good kedushin. So it seems like they don't agree. That means that not everyone agrees in this concept. So, okay. So the Gemara says, continuing, the first word on the line is nidarim. Just highlight it a little bit better. Sorry. Okay. So Gemara says lo. No. The first case the mission is not talking. This Tosefta that we mentioned is not talking about nidarim. That's what the Gemara is going to answer. It says lo Tawas Pach Mishav Pruta. When it says Tawas made a mistake, he's talking about he married her with less than Mishav Pruta. We're not talking about nidarim here. That's what the answer is. This Bright is not a kasha on Rabbah because it's not talking about nidarim. You don't have to worry about this. There's no comparison between the two cases we're trying to say before. Different case entirely. So it's talking about he made a mistake and gave her a shavapruta, and then he goes ahead and marries her, and then it does the bia. So it's like a new kedushin that's good. But the Gemara says, okay, lo b'toras pachon shavapruta. Whereas pachon shavapruta is the case, the first case in the brisa. So Sefta, when he gives her a lesson in Ruta, Hedya Kataniba. We learned that's the very next explicitly. We learned that explicitly since this is the very second case. It's like repeating it twice. It says in the Mishnah, Kid Shabbatos, Upachas Shavapruta. It says this very specifically. It says he marries her of some sort of mistake, some sort of stipulation, whatever, that doesn't work, or he marries her with the lesson of Shavapruta. It's clear that they're two different cases. So the Gemara says no. It's really the same case. We're not talking about Nidar. What's it mean? Pirish kamafarish. The Brisa is explaining. The first case is what it means. The second thing it says is an explanation of that. So it says, one second, I think we have Baruch coming online. No? There's some random call. Sure, no one gets random calls to their phone, right? That's me. So he said, but hey, I would say, it's coming to explain it to you. What does it mean? Let me just read this whole thing again. It says, it says, Pirish Kumafarish. No, it's coming to explain it to you. Kitchbatoas, when it says Kitchbatoas, what does that mean? Ketzad, what's the case? The gon shakitcha pachim shavapruta. You marry here for less than a shavapruta. So it's not talking about a dharm. We can't ask a question to our case in the dharm, this case in the dharm. No question on Rabbah, because we're talking about something else entirely. Talking about a case where a man married her with insufficient funds, I put it that way, but it's not enough to enact the condition, and so it doesn't work. Then he does a bia, so that he has intent to marry but that's the opinion of the Tanna Kama. Opinion of the second opinion, so Shimon ben Yehuda in the name of Shmuel says it's not a good condition. So we have to figure out what's the argument about. That's what we're going to explain right now. The my kamiflagi. What is the Tanna Kama and Rav Shimon Yehuda, the name of Rabbi Shmuel, arguing about? Why is it if he gives less than a Shavah Pruta, he gives insufficient funds, there's not enough to enact the kedushin, and then he has a bia, that does enact the kedushin? What is the argument about? Why does the Tanna Kama say it does make a kedushin, and Rabbi Shimon ben Yehuda, who says in the name of Rabbi Shmuel, says it's not a good kedushin? What's the nature of the machlokas? But my kamiflagi, what are they arguing about? Mar Savar is the Tanna Kama. he holds Adam Yodea She'ein Kedushin Tosin Pruta. Everyone knows that you have to that a Kedushin doesn't take effect. It's take hold literally. Doesn't take effect with less than a Shav Pruta. You give a woman, 20 agurot and say Arei Mugdeshesli, it doesn't work. It needs to be more than that. Even a shekel would work. I don't know what the exact value is right now. I shouldn't say that, but if you have 10 shekel, it'll definitely work. Right. So according to the Tanakhama, everyone knows that. Why do you give it in the first place? I don't know. That's a good question. But so everyone knows that. Chi kabal adaita kedusha skip the line there. Gomar bal the same kedusha, and therefore he completed it and went ahead and did the via that he does the cohabitation to complete the kedusha. That's on the lower level. He said it works for kedusha. Umar Savar, the second opinion, second Rabbi Shimon ben Yehuda, the name of Rabbi Shmuel. Why does we hold this doesn't work? Savar ein Adam Yodea she'ein kedushin tosin pach mashav pruta. He says people don't know, not everyone knows, that a kedushin that uses less than a shavuot pruta, the value of less, you give less than the minimum amount. Not everyone knows it doesn't act. Therefore, when he did the bia, it was just based on the existence of the previous kedushin, which didn't work. So therefore, that's the nature of the machlokas. So just as a thought,
It's an assumption that bridegroom less than a fruiter as opposed to a nera in the bad.
Right.
It's an assumption, not a fact.
So we are working with that assumption in the brisa. Make it work, right? We can't prove that, right? But it's not a definitive question because the brisa could be for something else. To say that the brisa is a question, you have to say it's absolutely meaning X. You ask me the question, this maybe means Y. That's the nature of the discussion there. Okay. Okay, so that was the first question. Two more to go. Two more questions that Abai is going to ask on Rava on this page anyway. Okay. Okay, Esve. Let me just highlight a little better to the next Esve or Mesve, whatever it is. I know the next one. So let's do it there. Okay, so we are the next Esve. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 lines on the bottom. First word on the line is Adaita. Go across to the middle. It says Esve. Esve. This is once again Abai asking a question on Rabbah. He's going to ask it again from another Tosefta edition, quote Gittin. Says the following: Hareni boalech al manash sheyirtza abba. Says, I'm going to marry you, with Havatiya, on the condition that sheyirtza abba, that his father, the man's father, is willing that this kedushin should go through, that he should marry her. The stipulation, the parents' father agrees to her to get married. So the Raisa continues, even though she doesn't want, even the father in the end says, no, I don't really want this, it still works. Why? He made a stipulation. So we said, like we said before, that he may have made that stipulation, but when he does the bia, the actual bia, had in mind that it should work. Because Ein Adam Osa Bilas or Bilas Nos, he wants it to work, despite that, without stipulations, without any conditions. It seems a little strange in this case because it's one and the same. It's not one condition here and later a bia. It's one and the same. But that said, it's still he makes a stipulation. But according to the Tanakhama, even though he made that stipulation, but a man would want that kedushin to work, that bia should work for kedushin. So therefore, despite the feelings of the father, it would still work. Rabbi Shimon ben Yehuda, Amar Meshum, Rabbi Shimon, not Rabbi Shmuel, Rabbi Shimon. He says, Ratza'ab Mikudeshes. The father wants, it works, it's a good kedushin. La Ratza'ab, Ein Mikudeshes. Doesn't work. Well, that sounds more logical to us, right? Because he made a stipulation. And so we say, if it fulfills the stipulation, if the father wants it, then good. If it doesn't, it doesn't. That's based, again, on the principle that the idea is that when he did the deal, it was on the initial, it had the cohabitation, it was based on the initial stipulation, initial state, which was that I'm marrying you, what he said, on the condition that his father wants. So therefore, if it wants, it works. If it doesn't want, it doesn't work. But the Tanakhama disagrees. He says no. And he did the kedushin. It's standalone. He had in mind it should work no matter what. So let's say a little bit more than I said a little bit outside. But let's explain it inside. So the Gemara continues. It's like the case of only one woman, and he marries only one woman. The case where he says, "I'm doing kedushin the first stage on condition that she doesn't have nidarim," and then he goes ahead and marries her with Nesuin stam, and then, but in the same pligi, so says the Gemara. But here, and they're arguing. It's clearly the Tanakhama here holds, even though same idea as I said before, even though he had the bia based on a previous stipulation. When he had the bia, he had in mind to create a new kedushin that's free and clear of any stipulation. So it should. Though that seems like there's a disagreement on this concept. Not that everyone agrees to it. Rabbah said everyone agrees in such a case, like the case of when he stipulates nidarim, no nidarim, and then he marries, says the su and stam. Everyone would agree that doesn't need a get. Here it sounds like it's a good kedushin, it would need a get. So we say no. No, it's not. That's not the nature of the discussion here. The nature of this brisa, this tosefta, is simply a discussion of whether or not the condition wasn't fulfilled. Everyone agreed you have to fulfill the condition. But you make the condition that bia is based on that condition. If you fill the condition, then it works to enact the kedushin. If you don't fill the condition, then it doesn't enact the kedushin. It's based on stipulation. So hasam pakamifki. Really, this is what they're arguing on. Says the Mar Savar, the Tanakhama holds Almanasha Yirtza'aba. He made the condition on the condition that the father wanted. And what does that mean? Almanasha Yirtza'aba, Almanasha Yishto Ka'ab. On the condition that the father won't speak up or be quiet and don't say anything. In other words, his approval is what? How do we know that he approved? According to the Tanakhama, that he doesn't speak up and argue against it. Well, Shtikako does, we say. Elsewhere, it's still a concept. He didn't argue against it, so it's tantamount to his approval. He agreed it. Hashasikle, he was quiet. The case is he was quiet. He said, on addition, my father wants it, and the father doesn't say anything. So according to Tanakama, well, we have approval. We fulfilled the condition, my father wants it, so it's good, it's a good condition. Well, Mar Savar, I got it backwards, but we'll read the whole thing. Mar Savar al-Manasha Yomer Abba, Hain, Palo Amar Abba. How do we know that he agrees when he says yes? He didn't say yes. So therefore, it's not a good. It's as if he didn't approve of it. So the whole discussion here is not about whether when he does the bia, it's based on the first act or not. Everyone agrees in this brisa, this tosefta, that if the man says on the condition my father wants it, it's a good condition. It's a working condition. The question is, did he fulfill the condition or not? Because the condition was that my father approves. How do we know he approves? So one opinion is, as long as he doesn't speak up and argue against it, that's his approval. So he didn't speak up and say anything. So he approves, so it's a good condition. And the other opinion is, no, to prove that he's willing and wants this condition, it's a good condition, you have to say, yes, I agree with it. The fact that he was quiet indicates that perhaps he doesn't want it. So therefore, that the condition is not fulfilled. And therefore, it's not good.
Above 13 and a girl of August.
Yes. Yes, it's a standard case, it seems. Yeah. That's what it seems like.
Okay, so he said to his father, I want to marry this girl, and she said yes.
Yeah. I don't see anything. I don't remember seeing anything else otherwise. Yeah. Yeah. We're jumping cases a lot, so it's a little bit confusing. Okay. Find new cases. Okay. Okay. So now for the last Esve, last question on this page. We'll get to the next page also a little bit, I guess. Okay. So now we're on the last of the three questions on this page that Abaye, Abaye asked back to Rama. Okay, Esve. This is also another brisa. It's a tosefta in Yevamos now. The following case, Esve. Modim chamim admit to Rabbi Elazar. There's a case where the chamim don't admit to Rabbi Elazar. And that's the following case. We're not going to get into this just because doesn't even state it. It's just a little bit of the background. We're not going to get into a little bit to understand why, but a man marries a woman, then he divorces her, and then he marries her again, and then he passes away without any children. Question is, does he then required to do yibum, or he's not allowed to do yibum, only chalitza? Can he marry normally if a man passed away without any children, the brother of the deceased husband, brothers of the deceased husband he can marry her, even though they're normally forbidden. They're ervas, they're rayas, but this Torah says is an exception. Mitzvah, the yibum, or chalitza. So in this case, the machlok is whether you can do yibum. Married once, divorced, married again. That's the same person, same woman. Does he do yibum or not? Okay, that's just the background. Okay, now we'll get to what I want to say. Modim Cham Rabbi Lezer, but that case that I just mentioned, the Cham and Rabbi Lezer argued. But when did they agree? When did the Cham and Rabbi Lezer agree? The Katana Shesia Avia, when a little girl, under 12, is married up. Could be over 12 and a half, depends on the opinion of the Tanaim, but let's just call it under 12, for argument's sake. A girl that gets married by her father, as mentioned, Katana, so we'll call her Katana, Shesia Avia, that her father marries her off, which is on the Raisa level. On the level of the Torah, a father can marry off his daughter in Niskarsha. And then it's a full marriage, because the father married her off in Niskarsha, and she gets divorced. We'll see, it's talking about she's still a Katana. He is Soma B'chayab. She's considered like an orphan in the lifetime of her father. Why? Because as Rashi says, Lafisha Yatzam Rishusa in the Suin, Harishona. Shuv Ein Lo Schusba, the Kappa Kedusha. That's what Rashi said. Why is she like an orphan? Her father's alive. Because until she got married her off, her father has the right to marry her off. Now he no longer has a jurisdiction. She got married by the father and gets divorced. He's no longer it's not within his power to marry her off again. Okay, so you have this case again. Katana Shasia Evia, the girl that father marries her off, the Araisa, the Torah level, Miss Garshin gets divorced, so she's fully divorced now. She is so Mechayab, she's not under the control of her father to marry off. And the husband takes her back. Totally fine as long as he's not a Kohen. So what do we do then? And then this fellow passes away. So the second marriage was only rabbinic of nature. So when you do Yibum is an exception in the Torah. She's marrying her brother-in-law. It's really a rayas. It's really one of forbidden relations. But the Torah says, this case you can't. But here the marriage is only rabbinic. So we say both Rabbi Eliezer and the Chachamim agree in such a case. Shecholetzes v'lo misyavenes. They do chalitza and not yibum. They do the chalitza ceremony with shoe and not they don't do bia. They don't do yibum to create a marriage. Why? Because she got a full from the first time she got married to this guy, which was from her father, was a full gerushin, full marriage and full divorce. And so she's not married to him. But when she got married to him the second time, when she was still a katana, it's not considered taking her back. Really, it's not really married. And when the husband dies, it's not a real case where he can, on the Torah level, where he can do yibum. So the Gemara says, what case are we referring to? Shagirsha Kashi Katana, when she got, as we said, she got married by the father when she was still a minor, and she got divorced when she was a minor. And she also, the husband remarried her again when she was a katana still. So that case wasn't a real marriage from the Torah. About Girsha Kashi Katana, she gets divorced when she's a katana, and Gzira Shigadol, when she gets married when she's full, let's say 12 and a half, when she's fully able, according to all, let's just say she's an adult now, she's able to accept the marriage, accept the fiducian. And then if the husband passes away, then obviously the yibum would be an option because it's good. Oh, shachzira shikatana. Oh, or the cases where he takes her back when she's a katana, gadla etzlo, and then she's still alive. She becomes an adult. They have they cohabit in that period of time. Who actually says it? I don't see it inside right now. They cohabit during that period of time, and umeis ochaletzes omei lemes misyavemes. Then he could do yibum also after the brother-in-law could do yibum after he passed away. Why? Because even though he married the first time, this is the Talmud Thomas opinion. Even though he married her the first time, I'm sorry, the Chachamim say, even though same thing, even though he married her the first time, and then he divorced her while she was a katana, then he remarries her when she's a katana, when she's a minor, but they were together as husband and wife when she was already an adult, and they had cohabited. So when he had that cohabitation, when he did the bia with her, he had in mind that this should enact a good kedushin. So therefore, they're really married even on the Torah level, says this first opinion. Therefore, he could do ibum since they're married based on that bia, then that's considered a good kedushin. They're really married, and if he passed away, then the brother-in-law can perform ibum. But just for a second before we continue, just the idea here is that when the person did the bia, he had in mind that to create a good kedushin. That's one opinion that runs against what Rabbah says. That everyone agrees that when he marries one married woman, he had that bia, the second bia for the suin in that case, to really enact kedushin. Everyone agrees not to enact the kedushin. It's just based on the original stipulation of the kedushin, and so there it wouldn't take effect. So let's continue reading. The Shum Rabbi Eliezer. Let's start on the next page. So just to get the flow, maybe we'll see. We'll see. The Shum Rabbi Eliezer Omer Choletzes Lo Misyav Emes. Rabbi Eliezer says no. She only does yibum. Why? Because when he had the bia with her, it was on the das. It was on the condition of the original act of kedushin, which was when she was a kid. She was a girl still. So this bia doesn't enact a new kedushin. So therefore, she's not really halakhically married to the Torah. They're abanim, but not to the Torah, and therefore, yibum would not be an option after he passed away. It's like a case of one pligi, and they're arguing on it. In other words, what's the case we're trying to compare to? Rabbah said the case was as follows. The initial case. Rabbah said the case was he marries her kedushin. Abraham, on the condition she has no os, and then kansa, then he marries, does nisuin without saying anything. Everyone agrees, says Rabbah. In that case, when they had the bia, it was on the initial kedushin, which was stipulated, so it's nothing. Everyone agrees to that. But here we see a similar case. When he marries this girl, then she gets divorced. Then he remarries her rabbinically because she's still a minor. She gets older. They have bia together. There is an opinion. One of the opinion here that she would that kedushin had in mind to enact a new kedushin, not based on the old one. So it seems to run in the face. Not everyone agrees. That's what we said. Okay, I'll just read the answer. We'll have to go again over this on Sunday, but let me just read it quickly. Hasam nami b'kamiflagi. Now here too with their argument. Mar savar adam yodea adam yodea she'ena kedusha ktana klum v'gomar bala she'ena kedusha. Mar savar ein adam yodea she'ena kedusha ktana klum. Kabal daita the kedusha mishana kabal. As a bia, it's on the das of the initial one. I'll go over that again on Sunday. It's it can't be done on regular achas. We'll answer this tomorrow, God will, Sunday. God willing, we'll go over this again, this last point, and we'll continue onwards. Everyone should have a good Shabbos. Thank you for joining us. Okay, thanks. Thank you, Rabbi Simkin. Take care. Enjoy Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka. How is it pronounced? Sri Lanka.